Hello dear students, it's time for a social science class and today we'll be starting a new chapter. Chapter number 11, Landforms. From the words we can get the idea landforms are the different types of land which we find. They may be regarding their height, their shape or their texture. So let's study which are the different kinds of landforms. Movements take place in the crust of Earth over the time. Movements make and change the landforms. We find such types of experiences through the incidents like shocks of earthquakes, volcano or tsunami, etc. These movements somewhere create mountains, plateaus and fold valleys. In addition to this, erosion and deposition occur due to the natural forces like river, glacier, wind, sea waves are which created and we get alluvial plains, valleys and gorges. Now here for creating landforms we basically have two kinds of factors. They are internal factors and external factors. Internal factors which happen under the crust of the earth or which happen due to the movements of the earth's crust. They are volcanoes, earthquakes and tsunamis. Due to these different landforms are created. Now the external factors are the erosion and deposition. Erosion happens with the help of air and water. The soil or the particles are moved from their place and they are deposited. They are get a new place where they are located and they form new areas. These areas can be alluvial plains. Alluvial plains are the loose soil that has been eroded, reshaped by water in some forms and redeposited in a non-marine setting like the region which does not have any kind of fixed land texture. Then we have valleys. Valleys are the lower region of the mountains and the gorges. Gorges are a narrow valley but with steep sides and a river running through it. We'll show you the picture of it so that you can get a better idea. Now students, here I have given you the picture. In this picture you can easily see the mountains. The snow-clad mountains at the right hand side of the image are mountains. Then the barren lands, those are the plateaus. And the river which is flowing through it, that region are the gorges. And then you can see the plain area, those are the plains. And we all know the river as it meets in the ocean. Here, the first picture which you see is of alluvial plain. We can see that there we can find land or soil, but it's not fixed. So these are the alluvial soil which have been deposited by water. Then the next image is of gorges, where between two mountains we can find the river flowing. And the third picture is of valleys. The lower foot of the mountains are the valleys. Now that was the introduction about the different types of landforms. Now let's study in detail about each one. The first one is mountain. The area having more than 900 meters height above the sea level with gentle or abrupt slope is called mountain. Gentle slopes, we can understand that those are smooth one, and abrupt means which have some rocky texture which are not smooth, those are abrupt. So these area which is above 900 meters the sea level, they are called mountain. Mountains are formed in the crust of earth due to action, reaction and interaction of natural and physical forces like earthquakes and volcanoes. These are the forces which create mountains. Impact of more than one action and forces are seen in the origination and development of mountain. Now, there is not just one action or interaction, there are various actions. Hence, due to this multiple action, the mountains are created. That is why, in the context of their various aspects, mountains are different from each other. Now, if the actions are different, the kind of mountains which are created, even they will be different. So, based on their figure or based on their shape or texture, we can say that mountains are divided into four divisions on the basis of process of formation, on the basis of how they are formed, which were the actions in the origination of these mountains. The types of mountains based on their process of formation will be fold mountain, block mountain, volcanic mountain and residual mountain. Let's study in deep about all these mountains. The first one is fold mountain. Now, forget about everything. You know how we fold a paper? When we fold a paper, we can see that one point is above, which is higher, and the other one gets deep. When you fold a paper, like there, you can find that you can actually make the mountains and the valleys. Now, let's take the same example in the context of geography. Most of the collectively deposited sediments at the bottom of sea or lakes create folds due to the pressure which comes from both the sides. You can see the sediments, the particles, the soil or the rocks which are at the bottom of the sea or lakes, they create folds. They create this kind of inverted V which comes from both the sides. With the pressure which comes from both the sides. We have studied about the movement under the earth's crust. So due to that movement, the sediments, all the rocks or all the soil under the lakes, they come together and they are made in this formation of inclined V. They are can be seen as fold mountains. Its upper part turn as a peak. Peak is the summit of the mountain and the lower part turn as valley form can be seen. We can see in this picture here that due to the pressure which comes from both the sides, thus all the sediments come up and the upper we get the peak and the valleys. Here, I have given you the examples of the fold mountains which can be found in the world. Himalaya in Asia, and here we have Alps in Europe. We can see that they are actually pointed. These are the fold mountain or the mountain ranges where there are steep mountains. Then the other example of famous fold mountains are the Rocky Mountains, or they are even called the Rockies in North America and Andes in South America. These are the main fold mountains of the world. Next is the block mountain. From the shape you can see that they are like actually block. Due to the geological forces, pulling force is applied on the surface of the earth, then cracks are formed. As a result, surrounding area is submerged and central part remains stable forming block mountain, then gorges are formed in the lower area. Now we know that under the surface of the earth various movements are happening. Now this kind of forces, when pulling forces, when the earth is getting pulled, that way the block, some certain portion gets down, it gets submerged, it comes down and the middle portion remains stable there. Due to this, the surface which is upside, that creates the block mountain, and the surface which goes down, it creates gorges. Gorges, I explained that from which the rivers are passing, like there are two block mountains and from between them there are the gorges. Horst Mountain of Germany is the best example of it. Therefore, such mountains are also called Horst Mountains. And in India, we have the examples of Nilgiri, Satpura, Vindhyachal mountains of India are the best examples of block mountains. Here you can see that these mountains do not have peak, they do not have summit. They are actually flat at the surface. So these are the block mountains. The third type of mountain is volcanic mountain. Now last year students, you all know what are volcanoes and what is that volcanic eruption. Now the thing is, at the time of volcanic eruption, the material which is thrown out is deposited in the shape of a cone, and that is called a volcanic mountain. When it cools down, it hardens and it creates a mountain. Fujiyama of Japan, Vesuvius of Italy, Cotopaxi of Ecuador, and Barren, Andaman of India, Pavagadh and Girnar are the examples of volcanic mountains. I've given you the pictures of Fujiyama of Japan and Vesuvius of Italy. Here you can see that actually these volcanic mountains had the point of volcanic eruption, and afterwards, when after the eruption has cooled down, all the sediments have settled, they are in the form of an inverted cone and they create a volcanic mountain. Let's see the pictures of Cotopaxi of Ecuador and Barren, Andaman of India. Well, the point about Andaman is that it is a live volcanic mountain. You can see the smoke coming out of it. The fourth type is residual mountain. From the name, we can get the idea that residual, the things which resides after everything goes away. But what goes away here? Here, the things which are formed from the residue which withstand the erosion. Like there have been over years, there have been various forces which have formed the earth. Now, when the erosion takes place, there may be soft structures and there may be hard structures like rocks. So, when the soil is eroded and the stones which remain behind, they form mountains, and these mountains are called residual mountain. Residual mountains are formed from the residue which withstand against the natural force of erosion. Soft rocks are eroded and swept away since thousands of years, and the soil formed from solid rocks sustained as a highland. Highland, the land which is higher than the surrounding areas. It is only called residual mountain. So the higher region which stays when everything else has been swept away with erosion. These are called residual mountains. Aravali, the mountain range which we found uh, in Rajasthan, the Aravali ranges, then Nilgiri. Nilgiri, we are in the Ooty and all, like in Karnataka, the Nilgiri range. Then Parasnath, Rajmahal, and Eastern Ghat are the examples of residual mountain. So that was the explanation about different types of mountain. Now let's study the importance of mountain. Mountains serve the purpose of a borderline and a wall of any country or a region and protect us from cold waves, help in bringing more rain by stopping moist winds. Now, let's take the example of India only. The Himalayas are the natural border for India. They protect, invasion from China could have been much more easier if we did not have the Himalayas. But that is the borderline for not only for India but all the countries which have the mountain ranges. The region on one side of the mountain is another region, and the region on the other side of the mountain is another region or country. So they are the natural borderline, and they protect us from cold waves. The mountains also block the cold waves which are flowing, and they help in bringing more rain by stopping moist winds. Last year I had explained you this concept, like the region which faces the moist winds, they are being stopped by the mountains, so they will get more rain compared to the region on the next side of the mountains. They will have lesser rain. Mountains are a place of origin of rivers. All the rivers origin from the mountains. Fertile plains are constructed by the rivers flowing through them. Now, the region around the rivers, they are also fertile. They are good for agriculture. Rivers flowing from the heavy rainfall region, snow-covered region, work as a water storage which is necessary for generation of hydroelectricity. Now, we all have also studied the concept of hydroelectricity. With the help of the kinetic energy of the rivers, we can generate electricity. And the rivers which come from snow-covered regions, they also work as water storage, and they can be used in the regions which do not have as much water. Apart from this, they are the repository of forest resources, mineral resources, and wildlife. The mountains, they have most of the forest regions, so they have act as forest resources, and in these forests we get the wildlife, so they are the home, the habitat for these animals. And then we also get They are rich in mineral resources. Besides all this, mountains are a blessing for tourism industry. Now during vacations we all prefer going to hill stations, so they are a blessing for tourism industry. Then film industry, all the movies that we watch, even they have the picturesque scenes, the scene which looks pretty, they prefer to shoot them in mountains. And then the mountaineers are the people who trek the mountains, like who climb the mountains. And then they are the habitat for the 10th part of world's population. About 1/10 of the world population live in the mountains. Mexico and Bogota are the best examples of it. Let's study like Mexico. It is a developed city and it is at the height of 2,300 meters. So it is on a mountain, but still it is developed. Then Bogota, it is a city in Colombia. Even that is at the height of 2,625 meters. And in India, we can have the example of Leh. Leh is situated on 3,500 meters. It is so high, but still people are residing there. There is a population there as well. So that was all about the introduction to the landforms and the mountains. In the next class, we will study plateaus. Now, for today's homework, I will want you guys to go through the video once again and can even revise from your textbook. In your textbook, the pictures are not given, but you can understand. And after that, you can do whatever you want. Just make sure that the concept is clear. So, take care and enjoy your day.